What's going on, guys? Curtis Wilkerson with Natty State Sports here, coming to you from right outside of Twin Peaks in Little Rock. We're at the Tour de Central Arkansas with Natty State Sports. Consider this an emergency episode of the Pod at the Palace. We told you if things were popping off that we would break it down and get there with you. We're getting ready to do the John Neighbors show, but there's so much going on with this Arkansas basketball team right now that I felt like I had to pop the phone into the selfie stick and get out here and talk to you guys for a few minutes. We thought there were fireworks yesterday with John Calipari landing five-star McDonald's All-American Carter Knox. Got that flip commitment. First one out of the way. Had somebody join Big Z. But it sounds like there could be a lot more dominoes getting ready to fall here starting pretty soon. It's been an eventful day on the visit front. Wow. So here we go. Big news. Boogie Fland, probably the premier prospect, especially in the backcourt of that number 2 ranked class at Kentucky that John Calipari had. Most of those guys have decommitted at this point outside of Travis Perry. We were wondering how many he would be able to get to Arkansas. Boogie Fland, big time guard, starting his visit tomorrow evening. That's Wednesday evening in Fayetteville. This is a big one, folks. We've been saying that Arkansas is in a good spot to eventually land this guy's commitment. As I've heard it, maybe St. John's is the other school to keep an eye on there, but I really have liked where Arkansas is at. And now he's visiting the Razorbacks. This is huge. 6'2", 175 pounds. If you're going to be named Boogie, like Scotty says, you better be able to go, and he absolutely can. He's a wizard with the ball, a big-time scorer, distributor, playmaker at that lead guard position. He is an impact player from day one if you're able to get him on campus, and this is huge for the Razorbacks, getting this visit, and he's not going to be alone. Another prospect, top 30-ish guy, long, lefty, 6'6" wing. The guy that we hadn't heard too much about, Billy Richmond. Okay, he's got some Memphis in his game. A guy who was playing with DJ Wagner a little bit, transferred up to a school in there in New Jersey and played with him in high school. Billy Richmond, we didn't hear much about him, and then all of a sudden he decommits. I think he was one of the last guys who kind of reopened his recruitment there, and then it was quiet. He was at the Jordan Brand Classic, not a peep, and then all of a sudden we get reports start to pop out from on3.com that he's going to be visiting at the same time Boogie Fland is. Boy, it sounds like Arkansas might be closing in on getting 3 of these freshmen in. That would be huge. Again, 6'6", athletic, lefty. You guys know how I feel about a lefty, so that's some pretty good developments there with a couple more of these freshmen who could be poised to join Carter Knox in the near future. So Boogie Fland, Billy Richmond, both visiting the Razorbacks beginning on Wednesday. We'll see what happens there. I would say don't let him get out of Fayetteville without committing, just like their man Carter Knox did. Jaden Quaintons, maybe the news isn't so good there. The big man we talked a lot about, 5-star. He was the young guy, right? Doesn't look like a young guy, 6'9", 230 pounds. Top 10 guy. He's got to play 2 years of college basketball because of his age. Has officially eliminated Arkansas from the process. Would have been a long-term investment that you would have loved to have, but it's going to be okay, because that signals to me that Arkansas is about to get after it with some of these transfer guys in the front court to come and help Big Z a little bit. No sooner than I tweeted that out, the news starts to trickle out. I think it was Joe Tipton and On3 that first reported it. Tennessee big man Jonas Adu set to visit Arkansas this weekend. That is absolutely massive news for the Razorbacks. Adu might be the best big man in the portal that's available right now. I think he's a top 10 guy unanimously in these transfer portal rankings that are out there. I've said it many times about him. I think he was the most improved player in the SEC this year. Averaged over 11 points and 7 rebounds per game for a Tennessee team that nearly made the Final Four. They were good. His game has come a long way. When he was a freshman, he reminded me of a Bay Fall type guy. Long, skinny, super athletic, and you could tell that he had a lot of skills, but he was still raw and had some development to do, and he's done a lot of that. He was a force in the paint, and is a guy that's highly coveted. And if you're able to pair a Jonas Adu with a Big Z in the front court, you've got one of the best 1-2 punches in there in the country. I don't care what anybody else puts together. This is a big one, folks. He visited Baylor over the weekend. We knew that Arkansas was in the mix, but it was going to come down to whether or not they could get him out of Waco uncommitted and then get him on campus for a visit. Arkansas has now done that, so where he might have been a Baylor lean before, maybe you're starting to see the scales tip a little bit in favor of the Razorbacks. We'll see how this visit goes. We know that the NIL is there. We know that he knows what Bud Walton Arena is all about. He's got experience in the SEC. This is a dude that Arkansas and Coach Cal really need to lock down. I'm sure that they're going to roll out the red carpet for all three of these guys, and these might not be the only visitors that we hear about between now and going into the weekend. It's like we said on Monday, we were starting to hear some rumblings that were coming out saying, you know what, this could be a massive, massive week for the Razorbacks in terms of potential commitments, that we could have days where there were multiple guys, that you could have a lineup able to put out on the floor by the end of the week. And you know, we had heard that before, and so we were kind of taking it with a grain of salt. Is this really going to be the case this time, or are people pulling the wool over our eyes again? And so far, it looks like they're delivering on some of the promises that have been made. You've already got one commitment. We haven't even talked about a guy like Jordan Burks out of Kentucky, who a lot of people think are going to follow Cal. I think he's going to follow Cal to the Razorbacks. That could pop at any time. We're not talking about a DJ Wagner, who was a highly productive freshman for Kentucky, you know, a 5-star prospect in the 2023 class before, who played for Cal, and then his runner-up team was Louisville when he was coming out of high school, coached by Kenny Payne. Now both those guys are on the Razorback staff. We're not even talking about guys like that just yet. And they're still making constant contact with guys in the transfer portal. I saw an East Carolina forward, a 6'8", 250-pounder that Arkansas was in touch with earlier today. TJ Power, another former 5-star guy who was a freshman at Duke. Didn't play a ton for Duke this past season, but he did hit a pair of threes in Bud Walton Arena, even though Duke took the L in that ACC SEC challenge. So things are really starting to heat up, and you know, it's everybody was getting a little bit antsy with the situation. You know, with just not a lot of movement. Oh, we're almost 2 weeks in. What is Cal doing? Or waiting on him to get his staff. Why aren't these guys committing? Where are the visits? Well, here we are. Okay, the flood is incoming. The tidal wave is coming. This is exciting stuff for Arkansas basketball. So I just wanted to hop on here real quick and talk to everybody. You want to hear more? We're getting ready to go live on the John Neighbors Show. So make sure you tune in there. Get your questions, comments, everything else in the chat. I'm going to be on that show the entire time, and we're going to be out at Dickey Stevens for the baseball game tonight. And obviously, like we said, if anything pops, Arkansas gets some commitments, new visit news, whatever, we're going to go live for the Pod at the Palace, and we're going to talk about it. But just a quick recap, a couple big freshman flip candidates going to be on campus starting tomorrow. That's Boogie Fland, the guard. That's Billy Richmond, the wing. And then Big Jones, the dude out of Tennessee. Woo, buddy. Coming this weekend. That's a big one for Arkansas. Appreciate you guys for tuning in real quick. Had to give you the update. Now it's back in here to get set up for the show. We'll catch you soon. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Natty State Sports.com. I appreciate you. You guys hang in there.